What's up guys, it's driftsnlifts here, and today's episode we got a quick one for you guys, but really exciting. So as you can see, we got some overnight parts from Sweden. In this box right here guys is our new 531 head that we've been waiting a couple months now to get built, and it's finally arrived. So big shout out to my good friend Dennis Blom. His Instagram's right here. He built this head for me. You know, Dennis builds motors for a living. He's a machinist, really talented at what he does, and he actually built the original head on Miss Huff. So this is the second head that Dennis has built for me. So we're gonna unbox this right now and show you guys a little bit about it, go over the specs and that kind of thing, and some further plans for the channel, you know, regarding this head and Volvo builds to come, basically. So let's take a look here. I already took off the screws. All right guys, so here we are. Here's our beautiful 531 head. So I'm gonna pull it out real quick. The deal with this one is last time we had basically a stock 531 head that was ported intake and exhaust, but we kept the stock valves in it and we shaved the head, I think 2 millimeters. It's also running in the car right now, a Timos 1310 camshaft. So that cam is, I think it's like 302 degree duration with a 13 millimeter lift. So we went even more gnarly with this head. This is a lot more aggressive. This head is basically a full built 531 head. You can't really go much more aggressive than this unless you went to a full billet. Let's pull it out. Look at those valves, dude. That's so dope, man. They're so big. Seriously gnarly. Piston rings. Tremendous. So big, the ports, dude. All right guys, so this started out as a automotive 531 head. Dennis went extreme on the porting, both sides. So it's got intake and exhaust. If you look in here, extremely well ported. So we went with 46 millimeter valves on the intake side and 38 millimeter valves on the exhaust side. Stock valves, I forget what they are. They're like a 30, I don't even know, a 38, 32 or something like that. They're a lot smaller than these ones. Dennis shaved 2.5 millimeters off the bottom of this head. He also included, somewhere over here, if you take a look here, just to get the exact right compression ratio that we want, because we're gonna be running the 2.5 liter stroker crank from the Volvo Penta motor that I have in the garage there. So Dennis machined some pistons for me, machined 3 millimeters off the tops. So this is a stock piston still. So we're gonna run those and it's gonna get our compression just dialed in. Should be around the 13:1 mark. The thing about a really high compression ratio is when you're running a camshaft like this, your dynamic compression ratio ends up not being as high as you think. So static compression ratio, this would be really high, 13:1 or so. But dynamic, because there's so much exhaust overlap and valve overlap, it's actually bleeding off compression. You could think of it like that. So let's take a look at this camshaft. This camshaft is absolutely gnarly. So I forget what kind of, let me look into the list of specs to make sure I got this one right. All right guys, so this camshaft is called an ST6. It's a rallycross camshaft. So absolutely crazy specs on this thing. If you look at the lobes, they're so ginormous. Like, well, this is an exhaust lobe, and this looks like it's going to be an intake lobe. So the intake lobes are a little more beefy. The exhausts aren't quite as aggressive. But as far as specs on this camshaft goes, it is a 326 degree intake duration, which is mind-blowing. This thing's going to rev to 8,000 RPM, no problem. It's got a 314 exhaust duration, 14.5 millimeter lift, which is ginormous. And Dennis went with the 37 millimeter buckets. So these are a non-shimmed bucket, which means it's just safe for high RPM use and that kind of thing. When you're running 8,000 plus RPM in one of these motors, sometimes the stock shims will kick out on you. So Dennis went with no shims. It's a non-shimmed head. You don't got to worry about shims popping out. They're already clearanced and set for this camshaft perfectly. So super exciting, guys. This is gonna make, we've been doing some, you know, rough estimates, but Dennis has a very similar setup on his car in Sweden, and the thing makes like 230 wheel horsepower. So This car should make around very similar. We're hoping 220 would be really cool. It's gonna be just a wicked motor, 8,000 RPM. It's probably gonna pull hard all the way from like 45 and on. Yeah, I can't wait to get this all together, guys. This is gonna be one nasty, nasty NA red block. You know, it doesn't sound like much, 220 wheel horsepower, but when you're making it out of an engine like this and it's so hopped up with, you know, 8,000 RPM and such a crazy power band, it is gonna not only sound insane, it's gonna be a blast to drive. You know, I probably won't get enough of ringing it through the gears and just all the way to redline. This motor is definitely gonna sit at, it's gonna be living at, you know, 6,500 plus RPM most of the time. So that's basically it, guys. If you look even at the exhaust ports, super, super big. Yeah, it's full ported out. Interesting, actually, the 530 heads that came on the Volvos in, you know, North America, they actually have a very, very similar exhaust port. That's not really much different from the two heads, but the 531 has a much different intake port design that flows a lot better. Yeah, this thing's gonna move some serious air. I guess I should answer the question. You know, I get a lot of times people are asking about why didn't you do a 16 valve swap? And I guess the reason was just, you know, I already had my good friend Dennis, and he already knew how to build these heads. He knows how to build a really good one. It's more simple. It ends up being a little bit cheaper. It's easier to work on. If you're doing a 16 valve head, you got to go 2 camshafts instead of just buying one. And it's a little more complicated. You got to buy a, you know, Yoshi Fab 16 valve head conversion kit and that kind of thing. I wanted to keep it nice and simple as far as 8 valve goes. It's so cool to me to just pop the hood and just see 8 valves, 1 camshaft, and a big set of ITBs sticking out of it. It just looks so simple yet so race car, you know what I mean? But yeah, guys, so that's super exciting. We're planning on getting this all together in the next couple months here, so this is gonna be the winter project. Unfortunately, our good friend, Miss Huff here, is basically at the end of its life. So now that we have our head here and we're ready to start doing some work and building the new motor, we're also gonna start pulling this car apart and building our whole new car, which you guys have seen in one of my other videos, the blue one, sitting at my buddy's down the street there. So yeah, we're gonna basically pull this whole car apart, every part off of it. I gotta pull a lot of stuff out of it because there's a 410 diff I gotta take out, take the whole tranny set up because the parts car that we have, or the new car that we're building, is an automatic, so we're gonna have to take all the pedals and all the manual stuff out of this one. Take the suspension out. We're basically gonna fully strip this car down to nothing. We're gonna make a really epic video for you guys, basically a tribute video for Miss Huff, because I would say this is one of the most famous cars of the Drifts and Lifts channel. It's the most well-known and it's the most kind of iconic, I would say. So we're gonna do a really cool send-off video for you guys, a tribute video of all the greatest drifts that Miss Huff has ever performed with me behind the wheel. And it's gonna be really sad to see this car go, but you know, you got it out with the old, in with the new. It's time to start doing some cool stuff. We got all the parts, it's time to do some wrenching. So yeah, it's pretty much a wrap up of today's video. Just a little short one. I want to unbox this and show you guys what we're working with. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff to come. As you can see, I lowered the Cummins, and we got piles of stuff coming for that too. So like and subscribe for high Volvo RPMs. Peace out.